Our next story comes from the Arctic. A silent but heated battle taking place under the icy waters of the Arctic. For the first time ever, a US nuclear-powered submarine has docked in Iceland, sending out a strong signal to Russia. You don't even know it yet, but Cold War rivalries are being revived. And what does this mean for Arctic security and global power dynamics? We're explaining this in tonight's edition of Gravitas Deep Dive. In a rare and historic move, the USS Newport News, which is a Los Angeles-class fast attack nuclear submarine, has docked in Iceland. It is the first time a nuclear-powered submarine has ever made a port call to the island nation. Now, this is new because Iceland only began allowing nuclear-powered submarines into its territorial waters last year. For the US Navy, this visit is a major strategic milestone. The USS Newport News is armed with Tomahawk cruise missiles and advanced underwater surveillance systems. Its deployment not only strengthens America's deterrence, but also helps to protect critical undersea infrastructure like submarine cables, a rising concern after the Nord Stream pipeline sabotage in the Baltics. And here's why Iceland matters. Located in the Greenland-Iceland-UK gap, it's a key choke point for Russian submarines. From Murmansk, this region controls access routes from the Arctic to the Atlantic. In fact, during the Cold War, Iceland was a critical outpost. In the year 1954, the US Air Force stationed fighter jets at the Keflavik Air Base to guard the Guyuk Gap. Anti-submarine aircraft like the P-3 Orion patrolled these waters, tracking Soviet submarines, and today that mission continues with advanced P-8 Poseidon aircraft rotations as well as NATO fighters defending Iceland, which has no air force of its own, by the way. And by docking in Iceland, the US submarine force gains a crucial support point for operations in the Arctic. Until now, their closest options were in Scotland or northern Norway, and both are hundreds of miles away. But the race to control the Arctic has been quietly brewing for years, and it's been heating up. The region is rapidly turning into a potential flashpoint, in fact. Climate change has opened up new opportunities for resource extraction, shipping, military activity. We've been telling you about this. And what are the key players? US and Russia, both with significant Arctic interests as well as territorial claims. So for all these reasons and more, Iceland is important strategically for the US, and this particular port call also mirrors past US moves. For example, in 2019, B-2 stealth bombers first landed in Iceland, thus expanding American reach into the Arctic. US and allies are nervous as Russia has allegedly stepped up its military buildup along Finland's border and ramped up submarine activity. In the Arctic waters, Russia considers the Arctic core, in fact, to its national security and economic future, with nearly 20% of its GDP linked to Arctic oil and gas projects. It has modernized Soviet-era bases and built new ones, like the Nagorskoye Air Base on Franz Joseph Land. It has radar systems, long-range missiles, runways capable of hosting MiG-31 interceptors. Russia also maintains the largest fleet of nuclear as well as conventional icebreakers globally, and these are crucial for Arctic navigation. It's also building nuclear-powered icebreakers like the Project 22220 series, which will escort commercial convoys through the Northern Sea route. But that's not all. Northern Fleet submarines like the Yasen M and Bore-class ballistic missile subs regularly patrol under the ice. In fact, in the 2021 UMCA war games, 3 Russian nuclear submarines simultaneously surfaced through Arctic ice, a display of its full capability. NATO has historically viewed the Arctic as a low-tension zone, but that is changing with renewed focus on deterrence and preparedness. And NATO troops continue to hold training exercises in the region. Under exercises like the NATO Nordic Response 2024, troops from member states trained to fight in harsh conditions. Then Finland and Sweden's NATO accession, also altering the security map for NATO in a way. With their membership, NATO has greater access to the Arctic through Finland's land border with Russia and Sweden's strategic coastline. Norway, Denmark and Iceland have also strengthened trilateral defense coordination, especially for maritime surveillance and undersea infrastructure protection. Already, there are calls within NATO to adopt a formal Arctic strategy, recognizing it as a distinct theatre rather than just a peripheral zone. Meanwhile, Iceland, which is a founding NATO member, has no standing army but plays a pivotal geostrategic role in this battle. After US forces left Keflavik in 2006, Iceland managed air policing through NATO rotations, but rising Arctic tensions have revived interest in permanent infrastructure. The Cold War never truly ended under the Arctic ice. As the US fortifies its presence and Russia flexes its muscles, the Arctic has officially become the newest theater of great power competition.